Daniel Sizemore. And what is your name?
Sandra Sizemore.
And do I have your permission to record this interview?
Yeah.
Okay. What was your parents' names?
Isaac Causey and Faye Causey.
Okay, so Isaac was your dad,
Uh-huh.
and Faye was your mom.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Where was the first place your family lived that you remember?
When I was a little girl, we lived over in, I was a little girl, about 5, 6-year-old. I lived in Leatherwood, on that road there, through that road there.
Yeah.
That's where we first lived, in a big old house. It's spooky, because I was little, it's scary.
Really?
Yep. And my uncle, my daddy's brother Arthur, he would come over and he would go up in the attic and he would dress up in a big old furry looking thing, come out through there and like scare his children and us, me and all of us to death. We was running and hollering for our mommies. We was scared to death of him.
What do you remember about living in Leatherwood?
Well, they sent me to a little school over there, and I went for a little while, and then I didn't get to go back no more. I don't know why the reason was, but I didn't get to go back no more. And it might have been because we moved, because we was moving a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So we moved from there and moved to Big Laurel, from Leatherwood to Big Laurel. And then Mommy put me, waited a little while, and then she put me in the school up there. And me and Jamie and Sheila went to up there with Miss Mahoney was our teacher. And at Pine Mountain Settlement School,
Mm-hmm.
we went up there, and that's when I went to my first year of school. And it was a good little class and little school and stuff. But we got in this bathroom, and we found some money. So me and Sheila, I think it was me and Sheila, anyway, we took it, and we brought it home. And Mommy made us take it back. She said it didn't belong to you all. You have to take that back. So we took it back. We was embarrassed to death. But we took it back and gave it back to her. And it was somebody else's that had laid it down in there, and it belonged to them. So Mommy made us take it back, because we took it back and made it right. And the teacher was really proud of us, but we were scared, terrified. Both of us was.
Mm-hmm.
And so Mommy would have whooped us if we hadn't have done it. She would have wore us out.
So Shayla is your sister?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. She was in the grade. I was in a grade higher than her, and she was a grade. I was in first. She was in the first, and I was in the second.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's where we. And Jamie was in the second with me.
Okay.
So we had a good little class, but we had some that was a little bit mean in there. But she would counsel us and straighten us out. But when we'd go to the lunchroom down there, we'd have to line up. And if it's raining, she would make us some hats out of the newspapers, and you had to lay them on top of your head and walk in line to that place where they fed us.
Mm-hmm.
And wow, I tell you, it was awful. And but anyway, when we got up there, and on our birthdays, they would have a table, especially, and everybody got a piece of, a little cake for your birthdays when you went to that lunchroom. And everybody was excited on them days, because you'd get a birthday cake. Whoever's at your table, you would get your birthday cake with everybody else.
Yeah.
It was really nice.
So Jamie was your brother?
Uh-huh.
Name? Okay.
Yeah. Jamie was my brother, and Sheila was my sister.
Okay. What things do you know about Pine Mountain Settlement School?
I remember playing a lot out there on that playground, and they had a little fence, and they had a little waterfall, little water fountain there you could drink out of, and a little stream of water runs around through the side of the thing. We'd go over that bridge to get to the other Laurels up there where you had dinner and your lunch and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes they would take us up there to the chapel, to that little church little chapel thing,
Yeah.
and we get to watch movies, and sometimes they have them or violins and all the music, and it was so fun to watch that. It was different things they had playing, and I loved it. And then that pipe organ, I loved it when they played it, and it was so much fun. We played ball out there too, and then you out in that big old field where we played, they had a stream of water down on that side, and we weren't allowed to go over there, but we could stand and watched it run down, but most of the time they run us back. They wouldn't let us over there much.
What was your favorite thing about going to school there?
Oh, I liked it when we went to the chapel. Got to watch the violins and all that, and the folk singing and stuff they had. They had I love that folk songs they used to sing, and they was so much fun to listen to them.
Yeah.
But most of the time, young people didn't like that, but I did. I liked it. It was a lot of fun to me.
Did they do like things to do with the holidays over there or anything?
Yeah, they had a little Christmas plays, and we get to go up there to the chapel and watch that, and it was fun. It was really nice. I liked it.
Yeah.
And they had all that stuff. They had singing, Christmas songs and stuff. It was really nice. I liked it. And then in the Laurels, the night, they would have square dancing. When I got older, growed up and got older, you could go up there and square dance. I went to that one there. I about swung my head off that day. That guy, he swung me around and around. I felt a little woozy-headed and dizzy. But it was fun. They had a lot of things up there. It was interesting.
Good. So you went to the Christmas play, the nativity over there.
Yeah, activity.
And that was every year thing?
Yeah, we went to a lot. Mommy take us up there. Like every one of us. It was interesting.
Were you ever in it?
No, I wasn't in it.
Okay.
We would always drop some little money as we went through. They'd have a little thing in there and you'd drop them some money and walk out the door. It was a lot of fun.
So that was a thing you did with your family for Christmas. What things did your family do at Christmas time when you were growing up that you remember? Just traditions.
We would go over and see our grandma in Bad Creek, and we had a lot of fun over there. And at night, they played Santa Claus. Well, they'd take our shoes and they'd put our little watches, all of our little tricks and little candy and oranges and apples in that, because grandma didn't have the stuff to hang her stockings up, on top of the chairs or something like that. So they just used our shoes and they put that stuff in them, and it was fun. One time they put coal in them. And they said that's because we was mean. That was where you was mean. That my Aunt May done us that way. She was helping Mommy. She was a big cut up anyway, and she was a lot of fun. But she did. She put they in it, and then my daddy did us that way one time too. He put us coal in our stockings when we was over, and we get up that morning, but he would go overboard and buy us too much stuff. Mommy tried to stop him, but he never did have much Christmas growing up himself, so he was making sure his kids had Christmas.
That's good. What things did like with food and stuff around Christmas do you remember?
Oh yeah, we had all kinds of whole table full. We had cakes, we had turkey, ham, all kinds of different foods. Shuck beans, they had green beans, they had potato salad, and other little salads they would fix. And they had that whole table would be full. And you'd have to line up around to go around and get, but they'd always have us a separate table from the grown-up. We'd have to go over here to the little table and sit with all of us kids, would sit with them. It was fun though.
Do you remember like making like Christmas goodies or anything?
Oh, my mommy, she made all kinds of candy for us, and made us Rice Krispie candy, peanut butter candy, and she would make cookies. It was lots of fun when she had it fixed for us. And she would decorate her tree, but she would let us put some stuff up. But she wouldn't let us do much, but she would let us hang the icicles on. They had them old timey icicles, and we'd hang them on there. But they don't make them no more. But that was one of my memories I always remember. And we got lots of toys. And lots of good food, fruits and apples and oranges, tangerines, all that. We got every one of them.
That's good stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So is there things that you have done with your kids that reminded you of when you were growing up with Christmas?
Uh-huh. I remember making lots of candy and lots of food and decorating and taking them places. And one thing Mommy took us to, and I do my kids too, is to the Christmas parade down there in town in Harlan. We'd have that Christmas play, and I'd take my kids down there. Mommy used to take us down there, and we'd stand on the side of what do you call it, little, next to the vehicles. They have them parked on the side there, and we would lean up against them and watch them as they go by. They'd throw us candy out, and we'd pick it up. So I did it with my kids, and I enjoyed it. And I like going out. My mommy'd take us out. When we went to the store, she let us run through the Christmas stuff and let us look. And I did my kids that way, and it was lots of fun. And we always liked playing Christmas songs. Me and my young ones would always sing Christmas songs, and my mommy did the same thing with us. So I try to pass stuff on that my mother taught me to do with you all.
Did you ever go caroling? Christmas caroling?
Yeah, I went one time. We went, me and Rita, and my sister Rita, and I think it's me and Rita's the only ones that went. No, Gina went with us, and we had us so much fun. And some more guys and more girls was with us. We went down to Lowell, and we went through there, and we went to each house down there, and we sung. So that's a big neighborhood. So we got to go down there, and we sung to every one of them down through there. We'd all sing together. Everybody come out, and they would stand on their porches and watch us. It was lots of fun.
Yeah. So, is Christmas like your favorite holiday?
I love Christmas. That's about my favorite holiday I've got.
A lot of traditions go along with it.
Yeah.
What was the one thing that your mom did at Christmas that sticks out in your mind the most? That she done every year?
Singing. And I love to hear her sing Christmas songs. She would sing us songs, and she would, if we didn't know it, she would teach us, and we would sing it all together with her. And but I love her cooking because you could smell it, and it smells so good. And she couldn't wait to get us up out of that cookies and her candy and stuff that she would make. And she made big dinners when she made them. She made a big ham. Usually Daddy got it from the mines where he worked, and she would bake it, and we would have all kinds of food in there to eat. It was really good.
What kind of work did your dad do?
Coal mines. Worked inside the coal mines. He done driving the shuttle car, and he would work back in there long hours, and then come home. He got on the day shift, and he stayed from then on. He stayed on the day shifts. But one time he got laid off when he worked at Leatherwood coal mines, and we moved over to Harlan, and come to Harlan when I was in the 5th grade. And then when he got laid off, got him a job over here at what do you call that place? Brookside. He worked up there for a long time, and then they had them strikes and all that stuff, and so Mommy told him he needed to stay out of that stuff. because she didn't want him to get killed because he had to provide for his children. Because he had 5 of us, you know, they had to raise. Him or her did. And so he worked in the coal mines. And then after they had a layoff or something other came up, and he had to transfer to another mines. And when he did that, he drove something outside, and he wrecked it or tore it. It went over the hill with him, and he hurt his hip, and he broke his leg, and he hurt his arm. So it on one whole side, and he was down for a while. So my mother had to get out and go get her little job and work until he got back on his feet. Then he went back in the coal mines again.
Mm-hmm.
That's what I was raised by, was coal mines. And then my husband is a coal miner, and he raised his children under the coal mines. So that's why his health is broke down too. And my daddy's was never like that too, broke down. But my daddy was a real worker. He was a, you know, real good worker. And he worked on around the house real good too. And I had a real good working daddy.
All right.
Both of my parents was real good workers. And they taught us to be like that.
Right. So, yeah, you mentioned y'all moved around a lot.
Yeah.
Do you remember where all you did move?
Yeah, we moved from over at that one I told you at first, Leatherwood, and then we moved back over at the settlement school, Big Laurel.
Mm-hmm.
We moved over there, but we moved at Leatherwood in the camp for houses there too. So we lived in that, plus we lived down the road in another house. But from there, we went to Pine Mountain, back over here at Green Hill, and went to school there, and lived in a house that Whit Brock and Cook and Whit Brock had over there. We lived in it. And then when he got hurt, he got some money, and he got a settlement, and we come up and lived at Putney, and moved up there when I was in my last year of high school. And we lived up there for, I don't know how long time. And then when him and my mommy got divorced, my daddy and mother got divorced, and then mother, when she finally got her some money some way, and she, through her family, and then she took her money and bought her a place down at Ross Point, and she lived down there by herself. And then my daddy went and lived with his own family. So.
Okay. So you said you were in your last year of high school?
Yeah.
Where did you go to high school?
I went to Kaywood High School.
What do you remember about going to school there?
I remember a lot. It was a big school to me when I first went. See, I just went from, my first year of high school was down at Lowell. And then when I went out there, I had to go to my sophomore, junior, and senior out there at Kaywood. But I always got mixed up in my halls that first year. I finally got it figured out and learned how to get turned around in there. And my last year, I know everything about that school. Mm-hmm. I could learn everything. And I loved playing gym. We had gym a lot. And I loved my gym teacher. And I loved playing in there and playing ball and playing. We jumped on the trampoline, and then we played kickball, softball, and then we had badminton. We played it in the gym. And then we had to run around the school too, take laps around the school. I don't know how many she made us go, but I thought I was going to die sometimes. And she did not let you slow down. You had to pick it up and go. And so we had to. It kept me in shape. It kept me going. That's good for me though.
Do you have any other memories with high school?
Yeah, I like my English teacher and my other English teacher. I had 2 of them. One of them was math teacher. I liked Miss. What was her last name? I was trying to think. Farland, Miss Farland. She was my teacher, and then I had Miss Whit was my English teacher, and she, Miss Grant was her name, not Miss Whit. Her name was Miss Grant, and she died later. But I got to have her for the first year, but that second year of my high school, she died some way. I don't know what it caused her to die, but she died, and we didn't get to have her no more, and they had to put a substitute in there, and I missed her so bad. She was a real good teacher, and so I had another English teacher. Her name's Miss Wheels, and she was real good. She was a real teacher. I mean, I like both her and Miss Farley was sisters, and they was really nice. They treated us really good.
Okay. So, what places do you remember your mom working at?
She worked at Dixie Discount, and then first time she got a job, she worked down there in a little store for, what was that man's name? It was a little bargain barn store down on the side, and she would work for him, and till she got to work at Dixie Discount, and she worked at Cecil Michael. Yeah, that's who it was. And she worked for him, and then it was a used clothing store, and he sold paint, different things, stuff in there. And she would have to straighten up the shed, go through the clothes that was rough, got holes in them and stuff, throw them away, sort them out. She done all that, and then she got at Dixie Discount. She worked in the men's department, and she done real good in it. And she worked up there for years until it went out of business. And then she worked from there, and then she went over to the thrifty shop and worked over there for a long time. Then I think that was her last job that I remember of. She worked there for a long time.
Yeah. Do you remember your parents like tending the garden or anything?
Oh yeah, boy, they tend too many gardens. We had, our family would have one up on the mountain. We had to go clear that whole thing off. I mean, there was trees, there was grub and bars, everything. We had to scrub and get all that off. Then we had to go in this field and just clean it off. It wasn't too bad. But we had one down on our side of our house, one up here at this other house. Dad would rent them. And then he would go on that top of that mountain and rent that one. And we had 3 gardens at one time. Mommy said when we moved over here at Putney, she said, that ain't going to happen no more. She told him. She said, them kids have got schoolwork and they got things they have to do, and you can't kill them. And she said, that's too much for them. She said, don't do it no more. So she wouldn't let him do it no more. So we was in the garden every evening. And until it's getting winter. When it got winter, we was tickled to death because we didn't have to work in the garden no more. Oh, I hated to get in that garden. And bugs eat you up. But it was fun, somewhat times, and sometimes it wouldn't. But he always said I slouched mine. He would quarrel at me and say I done like my mommy. He said, you slouch just like your mommy. You hold just like your mommy. And I'd get so mad at him, I couldn't hardly stand it. But I just took it. I had to take it because I'd get whooped if I didn't. So, Mommy said, now leave her alone. Said she's doing her best.
Well, what things do you remember planting? What they raise?
Oh, they raised potatoes, beans, all different kinds of beans. And they raised cabbage, and they used pepper and tomatoes and cucumbers and think of something else. Can't think of nothing else. They did tomatoes too, and the regulars and the big boys. They done all 3 different kinds of tomatoes. My daddy was bad on that, and he got some hot pepper one time, and corn. We did corn. We raised a lot of corn. He made hominy out of it. I love that hominy corn. He put it on top of the stove, not on the cook stove, regular cook stove. He done it on the heating it stove. He put it on top of it, and he would let it boil, and it would boil along, and it smelled so good when he's cooking it. And he would get that. Oh, I loved it. It was really good. He made it. It was really good.
Do you remember your mom like canning any of it?
Oh, she canned everything. She canned peppers. She canned apples, and made apple butter and apple sauce, and then she canned pickles and pickled them, and then she canned cabbage and crowded it, kraut, and then she green beans, and she even canned corn too, and she done every bit of her corn, every bit of things that she needed. She eat. We had everything fixed before about winter time. She had everything. It was really good. Only thing I didn't like was the peppers that they had fixed. But our daddy, he was bad to talk us into eating stuff. And he'd have us eating stuff that we wouldn't even like. And he'd make us even drink the juice. Ooh, it was awful. But he was bad for that. But we had a good mommy that cooked real and done real good. She taught us real good. And we go to church a lot too. And in the evenings when we got time, we got to get up and go to church. We was raised to go to church.
Did you get the help with the canning?
No, she wouldn't let us. She wouldn't let us around her canning. And when she done her laundry and done her washing, she had an old-timey wringer washer, that ring went through, and you set your tub out here. And we tried to get around to help her, and one time I tried to help her, and my hand went up in there, my fingers, and about killed myself. It hurt so bad. But she wouldn't let me around it much without she's out there watching me, because I didn't understand how to use it too good. But she would do that, get them up and then wring them out and push them in there and let them dry. But she would let us hang them out on the line when she done her laundry outside. She would let us help her hang them out. So she did real good with us, teaching us stuff.
Mm-hmm. So she taught you how to do laundry and stuff?
Uh-huh.
Did she teach you any of the things like sewing or ironing or anything like that?
Yep, sewing, and she taught us how to iron. She taught us how to cook too. She would show us how to cook certain things when we got teenagers, got up big enough to cook. She would teach us how to do that too, and how to take care of her laundry and what to put in it and what not to do and how to do it. But she still wanted to be right there when we done the laundry because of that running it through there. She's afraid we'd run our hands through it. And but she always did. And when she worked, we was teenagers, and she left to leave us at home, but she called and check on us, and she would know you couldn't do nothing. She knowed everything you would do. She was smart. She knowed exactly what her kids had mind of and what they didn't, and she was really smart. And she knowed if you was, she'd tell us we could go out 30 minutes. I always allowed to. We had a top of a roof we got out on, went through one window at the top and sit up there, and we lay out in the sun. We was allowed to lay 30 minutes. And that's at Putney up on that little porch thing we had. But we'd climb out on top of it, the roof of it, and lay out. And we put us some chairs up here so the road people couldn't see us, and because we didn't want men or somebody to stop holler at us. And we sat there 30 minutes. But she would call, and she'd say, "Are you all in the house?" I said, "I am." She said, "Who else is out there?" I said, "Rita." And Rita loved it, and Sheila. They loved to stay out there in that sun, and they would stay too long. And she said, "How long have they been out there?" And I tell them, I was a tattletale. They always call me the tattletale in the family. I wasn't allowed to do nothing with them. They'd get aggravated with me, because Mommy trusted me. She knew that I would tell her, and if I told her a lie, she would know. And I knowed it, and I wouldn't tell her. So I just tell her the truth, and then they get mad as far at me. My brother and my sisters, Sheila and Johnny, both would get mad as far. I wasn't allowed to go nowhere with them. And so, buddy, they said, I ain't taking you. You tell everything we do. Because they would do things I wouldn't do. So she would always have us, she knowed exactly what we done, what we didn't. So I tell her, and she'd make them get in. And they'd have to get inside. And it wouldn't be long till she got home. I love you.
So, how do you feel about people that like to put down the mountain people?
I don't like it. I don't like it when they say they all moved away, and I got a sister-in-law that don't like back here in the mountains. She's raised back here, but she don't like it, and she's kind of uppity, and it makes me mad as far, and it makes my husband mad too. But you don't like somebody tell you what you're raised up on, and how you're being taught, and how we done and do stuff back here. I don't like it. I think our mountain people is the best mountain people they are. The way we was raised when we was growing up, I loved it.
So what would you tell the young people today when they face opposition from outsiders of Appalachia? What would you tell the young people that they should do? Should they be proud? Should they stand, or should they just back down?
No, they should stand up for what they believe in and what they're being taught and what they're being raised at. I think they need to be taught to tell everything they know that's right, that they're being taught. That's the way I believe it.
So you are proud of your mountain heritage?
Yep. And I wouldn't take nothing for it. I like living in the mountains. I don't care to go visit other places, but when I get back in these mountains, I'm tickled death to get back in my mountains.
So you remember your mom singing at Christmas? Did she sing other times? This is just something she did all the time?
She sung every Sunday morning. We never forget it. She was singing her gospel songs, and she would sing them and wake us up singing to us. And I loved it. It was the best singing. I loved it. I never forget that. Her singing them songs. Cook us breakfast in the mornings, and her in there singing. And that's the way she did it. She was a little singer. I love to hear her sing. She was really good.
So you feel like you've had a true mountain experience being raised?
Yeah, I do. I like the way I was raised. I'm proud of my mommy. She done a good job. And my daddy, buying stuff we needed and taking care of us financially and stuff. I was thankful, Lord, for the way I was taught. And my mommy was our top rock. She was the top notch. We loved our mommy, every one of us.
So you mentioned about Bad Creek. What things can you tell me about Bad Creek? Where is it located?
It's back down in Leslie County. You have to go way up on this mountain to get to it. And it was my grandma's house and stuff she owned. And my mother inherited it. When my grandmother passed away, her and her siblings, they all owned it. And they got a graveyard over there. And when we was growing up, my grandma had her little house next to the little creek bed down there. And she had a big old snowball bush and had a little bench under it. And we would sit there, and I've got pictures of it where we sit and play. And Albert's kids, he lived up the road up there, and his kids would come down there and play with us. And we had fun. And that they had a little creek bed, that water run right down by there. And we would get out there and play in it. And my grandma, she would take her, and my aunt would take their stuff out there and do the washing on that washboard, and they would wash up and down, So my Aunt May would let me try it, and she'd let me go up and down, and I thought it was the hardest job ever was, but because I wasn't used to it, and she said, just keep on, you'll get it. So I just kept on, but I wore out when I got, my arms was tired, but she did it for us and let me try it out. And then they raised chickens, and they had a cow, and they had a little horse that they plowed with, and my grandma would take it up on her bank and plow. And my mommy and my Aunt Grace, if they didn't have that horse there that day, they have to do the horse themselves, and they would have to plow their own, hook it on to themselves and pull it. I've done that myself, and so I was taught that too. My daddy done me that way one time, and when we lived at Putney up on the hill, because we didn't have a horse, I was the horse. And we took turns because I had a lot of siblings too. So but Mommy and Grace would have to go up there and get their coal out of this bank. They had a coal bank up there, and they would have to go up there and dig it out and put it in sacks and carry it up on their back and carry it out and bring it down to their house for the winter. So they had it hard, and they had to work real hard. That's why their bodies wore out. They run down, and they carried them big sacks on their back. But my grandma would tend a garden, and she would can everything she could too. And so my Aunt Grace, she did the same thing too. So they all worked real hard over in Bay Creek. And Grandma raised her family over there. She raised every one of her boys, and she had one boy and them 3 girls. And she didn't have no husband. Her husband died when them kids was about 5 and 6 years old. And I think Mommy was 4. And Grace was the oldest. And then Mommy, and then Albert. And then May was the baby. But anyway, Grandma raised all them 4 kids on that farm by herself, with them kids helping her. That's what she did.
So what was your grandma's name?
Fanny Farley.
So, what memories do you have of her?
Oh, I remember her real good. She always, every time you go to her house, never failed. She'd always want you to eat. And when they moved out of Bad Creek, and they come up there at Cook and Wits, where we used to live over at Green Hill, Bledsoe area across the mountain. She used to live up above us there, and I'd go up to her house, and she's the very one taught me how to drink coffee. And she would dip her biscuit over into that coffee, and her and my Aunt May, and we'd sit there and have coffee. And I was a young girl, and I remember drinking my first cup of coffee with them. How sweet it was. And she would always have real sweet sayings and talks and stuff to you when you go up there. I enjoyed my grandma awful good. And my Aunt May too, I enjoyed her a sight too. They was good people.
Okay. So, what do you remember your mom and your grandma and all of them taking you to church?
Yeah.
And things.
Uh-huh.
What did you remember seeing them do?
They sung. My Aunt May would take her guitar, and Mommy and May and Grandma and Grace, all of them would get up there and sing. At every church we'd go, they would sing. And when you go in the church house, they shouted as they went in the door. They was going in that door shouting. I never forget it. They had the best meetings back in them old days, and it was, they had humble meetings, and nobody didn't have no bad malices and bad feelings towards each other. And they all the time, when you walk in that church house, was a love in there. And so I remember that when I was a little girl, how sweet people was in them churches. And that's why the Spirit moved in them churches, is because they had that love. And they hit that door, their little feet go padding right through there. They'd go shouting and hollering. And so it was really a good meetings, I remember.
Okay. Well, I appreciate everything.
And over at my mommy got saved over under Gene Harris. And she got saved, and they had the best meeting that night. I'll never forget that. They shouted, and they shouted all the way down the road. And the preacher, Gene Harris, he shouted on top of the cars. He'd get happy. He would run everywhere. And my mommy and my Aunt May would run and shout, and she got saved. They come all the way home shouting and hollering in the spirit. And they done that for a long time up in that till they got, it was really a good meeting. So I remember them good old days. I call them.
Okay. Is there anything else that you can think of, remember about growing up in the mountains?
Can't remember nothing right now.
Okay. I sure appreciate you.
Thank you, Dino.
Thank you.
I love you.